My word. Sounds like a dungeon.
Are we good? I think we're good.
We're on.
No.
Yeah, you're left.
Are we
Bang
good?
that gavel, Bill.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead, Bill, get us going.
All right. We're going to do a roll call.
Well, I mean, as long as
Okay, I'm not going to take a formal roll call. We all know we're here. Joni will note it down. Okay, Tony, you want to lead us off?
Yeah. All right, so we met last Monday. The Finance Committee met last Monday to go over my assumptions and the budget for 2021. And at that time, and still today, you know, a lot of things are up in the air as far as what our revenues are going to be looking like. So we called it squishy at best, but you know, it's the best we can do. So we're just going to go with it. So it doesn't look good for 2020 or 21. You know, this year, $200,000 deficit is proposed. Next year, almost 300,000. And this is largely based on the unknown revenues that will be coming in for the income tax. You know, as of Friday, July 17th, we were $300,000 less than we were a year ago at that time. And at that time, you know, people were supposed to have paid their 2019 taxes and their estimates for the first and second quarter of 2020. And we know that 1,800 people had filed returns in the past year, but only like 1,200 had filed so far this year for 2019. So based on that, I said, hey, I believe a lot of people haven't paid their second quarter estimates yet, since on the tax return, it just says pay your tax due for 19 plus your first quarter estimate for 2020. So I'm thinking there's a lot of 2020 second quarter estimates that have not come in yet. And what the tax department does, once they get the return for 19, they'll send out the estimates for 20 for the last 3 quarters. And that hasn't happened yet, since they weren't even due until, you know, less than 2 weeks ago. So that's the big unknown right now, what's going on there. But we can kind of look at, you know, I think we're pretty solid on the expenses, you know, based on revenue, or I'm sorry, based on salaries, taking the first half of 2020 and adding an additional 2% to get the salaries for 20, and then for 21, adding an additional 2% to the 2020 numbers, since we typically give a, you know, small 3% raise in salaries each year. So figure a 2% increase in salaries and budgets for 2021. And it's for salaries and benefits, and then other operations, kind of looking at the trends and seeing where they're heading, seeing where we are this year and looking at the last 3 years average and budgeting for those numbers. And also for trash, you know, adding a little additional amounts for the Cincinnati Waterworks billing. That's about, what was it, 7%? Did I say 5%? Yeah.
Yeah, 5%. I think you said
5%, additional $7,000. So I don't know how detailed you guys want to get tonight, since we looked at it pretty good on last week. But like I said, earnings tax this year, I decreased it by 150, and then for 2021, a decrease of 100,000 from the 2019 amounts. Just because we don't know what's going on, just to be kind of safe and conservative.
Can I interject a couple things here real fast? A couple things we talked about last week's meeting. So that the first tab of Tony's spreadsheet is only the general fund. And so the general fund estimated for 2020 is showing a $200,000 reduction, with the $150,000 reduction in earnings taxes. And he's showing another 300 reduction if we get into 2021 based upon some of these assumptions. But you have to remember that we've got two tabs behind it. One is the permanent improvements tab, and there's actually a increase in the projection for the permanent improvements fund from $62,000 last year to $168,000 estimated for 2020. And what's not shown on these tabs, we talked about this the other day, Tony, was that the street improvement fund is probably going to actually have 120 or so in the balance at the end of the year. Because one of the things I look at is where are we at on cash overall? Take the general fund, take the permanent improvement fund, take all the other funds and see where we're at. And if you put all those together, we may end up at the end of 2020 with a similar cash reserves balance, what I'm calling total cash reserves balance is what we had at the beginning of 2020. So the general fund is a little bit deceptive about what's going on right now because we've got these other funds that are building up a little bit of reserves, primarily because of the Petoskey project getting pulled off the table in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Joe. Well, that is the huge reason, right? That's $300,000 that we delayed. So
Right.
that's what's allowing us to probably be close to break even in total across all the different funds for the year.
And that's not sustainable because sooner or later we're gonna have to do road projects, right, Chris? So,
Yeah, and I got a big number budgeted for 2021 since we'll be doing the Petoskey Road project then. And that's going to decrease that fund quite a bit. And the street improvement fund.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Joe, that we could, it'd be good if we end up about break even for this year. But that means next year we'll probably be right back into a deficit position because of that 300,000 we've pushed. And also Chief has pushed his police car. He didn't get one this year. He'll be going back to getting his rotation going again next year as well. So that's another $40,000.
and as we discussed last week, this is a kind of a month-to-month process we're on right now. Trying to do annual budgets right now are very difficult because we as we sit here at the end of July, we still don't know what our earnings tax receipts are going to be for 2020. Because of some of the things Tony alluded to. So we're going to just keep watching this thing on a monthly basis. And, if we have to make adjustments to the budget as it goes along, we'll make adjustments.
Right.
We're in a new world here and
Yeah.
nobody really knows what the new normal is.
Yeah, we can take another look at this at the end of the quarter, at the end of September, see where we're at by then. We should have a much better idea. People should have paid their estimates by then. Their second and third quarter.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. I like that idea, Tony, to take another look at this then.
Ah,
But again, I do think, again, for everyone, next year is going to be back to the similar situation though, since we just delayed spending. We haven't eliminated spending. We just delayed it.
right.
Well, I kind of look at it from the standpoint, it's given us some time to evaluate our options.
Yeah.
I was very concerned that we were going to have a drain on cash in 2020 when the COVID thing first hit. And, I think we're going to be able to get through 2020, but yeah, 2021 is going to be a challenge, but we have to just keep reviewing our options.
Yeah, so does anybody have any questions on expenses or the revenue part of the budget? Like the taxes, the real estate taxes will be fairly consistent. I bumped it up 1% based on additional improvements that'll be done here in the village. And then, the stuff in the state kept pretty consistent. It has been pretty consistent over the years, slight increases each year, it looks like. Other receipts, we got the CARES Act in there and a FEMA money. I know that, it's in a separate fund, but we're going to be using general fund expenses. And we're going to be, Eli and I are working together on how to do that within the system, how to match up the revenue with the expenses in those funds. So basically what we're going to do is we'll probably just take money out of the general fund where we spend it and apply it to the CARES Act and the FEMA money that we received. And then the trash, we talked about that last week. That's going to be down this year because we're going to the monthly billing this year. So we'll have 6 months of income this year versus 12 months because we usually do an annual billing on the trash. That's why that's down from 250 to 175, and then next year it'll go back up to 240, and it'll stay at that 240 level and go up a little bit each year as if we increase the fees or increase stickers. And the pool, should bounce back next year, hoping everything calms down with the COVID. And that's, everything else is fairly consistent as far as revenues go. So, except for the income tax, that's why we're down, from 2019, 20 and 21 are both down. But, like Joe said, we don't know what's going to happen yet. We'll know more in a couple months. All right. And like I said, moving down to expenses, salaries and benefits, basically added 2% from the 20 amounts that I'm estimating onto the 21 budget. I don't foresee any staffing changes really in police, fire, maintenance departments.
Hey, Tony, I got a question for you. This thing, how does the real estate work where it goes up? It looks like it goes up for some, for not for the others. Like the safety services levy, it actually hasn't gone up year over year, whereas the other real estate has. And so, are there certain real estate taxes that are fixed in terms of the amount of money they generate, and other ones can fluctuate with the value of the property?
There are those types, but we have the type. All of ours are the type that will increase as new development increases. So let's say there's no new development and people buy and sell homes, but the price of one home is sold for a lot higher price than it was before. So that house will be allocated more taxes, and somebody else might get allocated less taxes now because their home as in ratio to the other home went down.
Mm-hmm.
But as we have these new condos and people are always making improvements, they're adding on. That kind of thing. So that adds to the base, which increases the taxable amount that we receive.
Okay, so it's improvement to the houses that creates more revenue for us, not just the sale of the house.
Correct. So like I said, if there's no improvements and just only sales, then it wouldn't change from year to year. But it's the improvements that make the base go up and increase the amount of tax that we receive.
Yeah.
Tony, you're talking about when somebody takes out a building permit and does some improvements. I mean, they come around and reevaluate the value of the house based on those improvements. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, and I know Don sends those down to the county so they get that information.
Yeah, right. All right. Dusty Roads come walking up your driveway to see if you're done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
Avia made him a cake.
Oh, yes.
Make a cake, move a decimal point, right?
Wouldn't
Well,
that be
and
nice?
then, and we're gonna have the properties down at the old steam plant hopefully by the end of 2021, if not sooner, hopefully.
that might be a little optimistic. Have you talked
Yeah,
to?
that'll help out. That'll increase that number
I
for
like
all the levies.
optimistic, Bill. Optimistic is good, Bill.
It is. It is.
So
Okay.
yeah, that'll be good. There's a good spot right there. And I know Ed's gonna buy one, so we'll have him. We know we can count on Ed.
But Kelly, when does the garbage contract come up?
October, well, it expires at the end of the year, and then we shoot for October for having a new one.
So, I mean, there could be some
There'll be
savings there.
Yeah, there will be some savings.
Yeah.
Probably about 30,000.
Okay.
Is that for recycling pickup or trash pickup in the front?
Yeah, for in the
Trash
front.
pickup in the front, yes.
Trash, yeah.
Eliminating the back of the house pickup or side of the house, whatever you call it. That's going to hopefully go away.
I agree. All right, we can take a quick look at this permanent improvement budget. As you can see in 20, we got the building, we got the bond, and also in 21, we also have the fire or the new ambulance. We got to start paying for that, and so that'll be for 4 years, 21, 22 through 24. And then loan or the bond repayment will also be done in 2024. So that, yeah, that takes away $150,000 each year. So we're kind of limited there. So I've got some, us spending only $270,000 over the next couple of years after 2021 when we spend a lot on the streets, because we're not spending a whole lot this year. But you can see, we spent a lot more than 270,000 in the past. We're going to have to tighten our belts as far as the permanent improvements go, and keep an eye on that, and maybe have John and Rick, keep their cars a little bit longer than they want to, or their trucks. So keep an eye on that. And the paramedic fund's pretty solid, pretty steady. Like I said on last week, we might be able to, what we do is we take half the payroll and charge it to this fund, and half the payroll for the year and charge it to the fire fund, or the general fund. But we might be able to switch that over and do an extra payroll, do 14 payrolls, and instead of 13 and 13, first half and second half of the year, might be able to switch over another at the end of the year and get the last payroll and put it over back in the general fund. Because we'll have, 37,000 in there, and it's only like 18,000 per payroll for paramedics each payroll. So I'd like to spend this money, because it's restricted to this fund. I'd like to spend it as much as I can and leave the general fund open as much as we can, because that can be used for anything.
Hey, Tony, on the receipts into the permanent improvement fund, do we get money for the gas tax in there?
No, that goes into a street fund. It's
Oh, that goes-
201 and 202.
Oh.
Which I didn't do that for this purpose, but when I send that to the county, I'll have that all in there. That usually brings in about 120, but now it's gonna get bumped up a little bit because the gas, it's been bumped up this year already.
Yeah, but people are driving less, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. People are driving less,
And then there's those people with those damn electric cars.
God,
dang those people.
those people really think we should
They're
do
getting a free ride, for God's sake.
a free ride.
That fund will also go up because of the new permit, license permit fee we increased. So we'll do 15,000 for 21, and then it'll go up to about 30,000 after that. So that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the summary, you look at the kind of the forecast here, ending cash balance at the end of each year. At the end of this year, about 800, and then 500. And I did bump up earnings tax in 2022 up to get it back up to where we were back in 2019, thinking, people are back to work and this whole COVID thing's over with. And then 1% increase after that. But but salaries are going to continue to go up 2% each year, salaries and benefits. Other operations always go up. So it doesn't look good going forward. So yeah, we definitely have some things to look at and talk about and figure out, but we got a little bit of time to do it.
Yeah, but this shows like by 2023, by the end of the year, we're pretty much down to nothing in the cash balance, right? Ballpark. I know this is ballpark.
That's correct.
So that, like you said, we got the window of time here to try and get some stuff done.
Yeah, and we'll know more, and by the end of this year, hopefully we'll know more about our income tax situation. And maybe it'll be a lot better than this. Who knows? Or it could be worse. We don't know.
Yep.
So I have a kind of naive question here. So as companies, I'm noticing some of them that my friends are working for, and the hospital where I was working have really reevaluated what it is to be working. And there are a lot of positions where now you're indefinitely optional in terms of working from home. On the company side, are there things that happen when you like permanently work from home where you're no longer paying income tax into where the location of your company is, but instead paying the location where your office is, which is at home? Like, do we face some changes of the pie in terms of like more people will be paying Mariemont income taxes as their place of business, or does the company just still continue to collect them because that's their kind of home office?
Right. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that, but I think it would be, I think Deanna or somebody had done an analysis on this before. If that did happen and we were able to collect the 1.25% instead of giving a credit of 1% to Cincinnati and only getting a 0.25%, it would actually help us out.
Oh, yeah.
That is how it works.
So,
Speaking,
Let
being
me,
someone
I
that-
actually, I'm sorry, go ahead, Avia.
I'm like, I'm on mute. Just being someone that does work remotely, I don't pay a local municipality tax, but then I pay then to Mariemont the full 1.25%, so I don't get a credit. So that's typically how it works. If someone's true home office location or true location transitions to home office, but that might not potentially be the case. You know, if companies are seeing it as a short term, they might still
Right.
leave them at base in Cincinnati unless they truly change them to be a remote employee.
Right. I did see something about this, if it's just a short-term thing, then they wouldn't change it. You'd still have to pay, let's say the home office is downtown. You still have to pay into Cincinnati. But like Avi was saying, if you do transition to full-time home and go in the office, once a month or twice a month, then it should be changed.
And my understanding is, Tony, the company has to tell you you're working from home now.
Right.
It's not like an optional thing where you're sort of
Right.
working whenever you want to. It's, from what I've read, it's the company has to say, you're working from home now because we want to free up this office space or whatever.
Sure. I definitely can see that would be the case.
But
And I
wouldn't
think
that vary
employees would-
state to state, or or is that something at the state level or the city level, or,
So let's step back here. There's two concepts here. The first is withholding local income taxes. And the second one is who actually is due those local income taxes. So the first one on withholding, the state legislature back in March said, hey, whoever you were paying local income tax to in March, you're going to continue to pay until the COVID crisis is over, plus I think like 45 days. So, the city of Cincinnati is still collecting for a lot of people, like myself, who are working from home. And so that will continue until the crisis is over and then in some period of time afterwards. There is a concept out there that says, okay, the city of Cincinnati may have collected those income taxes on a withholding basis, but are those truly earned by the city of Cincinnati if people were working from home? And how that's going to probably go down is next year, people can file for refunds from the city of Cincinnati saying, I didn't work in the city of Cincinnati during those periods. And they can request a refund from the city of Cincinnati. City of Cincinnati has already came out and said they're not giving those refunds.
Right.
They
yeah.
are probably going to get sued over this thing, and it's going to wind up in courts to figure out who really gets those income tax amounts, dependent upon where the person worked. So Maggie, the bottom line is this is going to go on for a while, and for us to try to project what's going to happen here is virtually impossible.
Well, I'm not trying to project. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess. It's as I said before, there's a new normal here, but nobody knows what the new normal is yet. And so, I think at the end of the day, we would probably benefit from certain interpretations of those laws, but it may take a fairly long time. I mean, the city of Cincinnati is really going to fight hard to hold on to those dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And employees would rather pay the 1.25 than 2.1 to Cincinnati, of course, but.
Right. So,
It's not up to us.
I think the bottom line is stay tuned. Let's see how it plays out, because, I do believe there's going to be a lawsuit filed on this, because there are people, that love to go after the city of Cincinnati for certain things like this. And I can see this, coming.
Okay. But yeah, at the end of the day, if that did happen, it would help us out though. But like Joe said, it would, we don't know what's going to happen, and it's going to be a
There's no way
while.
of quantifying it.
Well, and then, the mechanism, in theory, has to be that the residents have to file for that refund. So then in essence, Village of Mariemont can claim that extra 1%. So
Mhm.
there's a whole lot of steps here that, I wouldn't try to count on anything at this point.
Right.
Not, especially not in the short term, by any manner of means. I mean,
Mhm.
It could take years to play out.
Yeah.
A lawsuit could go on for forever.
Now, the good news is we are getting COVID funds in, so to offset some of that, stuff. And so we'll see how much that cash flow continues. I mean, I'm hearing out of Washington that the federal government wants to try to get more dollars down in the local government to offset some of the impact of the COVID. So we'll see how, it's hard to project. If it's hard to project what's happening at the local income tax level, it's almost impossible to check what's going to happen at the federal level.
Yeah. So Joe, have you heard of could that be used for income replacement, not just like expenses on COVID type things, right?
It's just rattling around Congress right now.
Okay.
Just a theory that they want to try to get money down to local governments. They understand the local governments are, being pressed during this process. And again, does that trickle into the Village of Mariemont? I mean, there's other communities that are going to be stepping up first, and hopefully we would see something.
yeah, they're definitely fighting for it. There's an active push.
All right. So if you guys have nothing else, I'll use these numbers and put it in the form that the county wants, which is similar to this anyway, and get this off to them here in the next couple of days.
Yep.
I can send you guys the county budget as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will the county budget have all the other funds? in
Yeah,
there?
they'll have all the other funds in there.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great to be able to get
Yeah.
some of that too.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
That'll just be a PDF. That's just the way they are. So, well, actually, it's in Excel. My bad. I'll send you an Excel file.
Good.
Good.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
Tony.
Tony. Sounds good. Sounds good. Everybody, any more questions? We all done?
Yep, 25 minutes.
All right. See you in 25.
All
Just
right.
Put
See
the
ya.
screen up.
Yep, we're all set. Mute. Mute. I'm unmuted. Am I the only one unmuted? Aw,
And you have Gordon in the
Yay!
background too.
wait,
You want
look,
to talk?
Gordon in the background.
come here, Gordy.
He's so well trained.
Hey, Rob, check this out. Come here.
No, I'm not gonna show.
He doesn't want to show you his black eye.
Ah,
Yeah, Kelly got me.
Yeah, I got him. That's right.
Punched me in bed.
Punch you in the head.
What? Dangerous to leave her like this.
I don't care. Yeah, Bill Gordon's got a black eye from his incident.
You can't talk.
the incident with Kelly.
The incident. Kelly, AKA the stairs. That's my wrestler name, the stairs.
I think you should just go by the incident. Kelly,
Like
the incident.
it's like the weekend and I'll be the incident.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll do it. Can somebody change my name at the thing?
What was the incident?
Oh, Gordon took a tumble down the stairs. That's the incident that caused him to have a black eye.
It's
Oh,
awful.
because of the vertigo?
Most likely. Most likely. Although at first we didn't want to say that, but I think he's changed his mind.
When was that?
Last Wednesday?
But the vertigo's gotten better, right?
Yes, so I think it's just that last 10% that's still messing with him.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is,
He's driving, right? I saw him driving to work this morning.
yeah, but it's one of those self-driving cars, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No need to be afraid. Billy takes the back road to the office, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's where I saw him.
I cut him off this morning.
Oh, did you guys have a little road rage incident?
Yeah, I cut him off.
You put that mayor in his place, Gordon Rankin. Okay.
Are we all here? Who are we waiting on?
Avia.
I'm here. I'm just eating pizza.
Is
You don't
Ed
wanna see
coming?
me eat pizza?
Yeah, Ed said he was going to come. He was going to
Is
Zoom.
this pizza you made or pizza you?
Very.
Hi,
Oh,
Ed.
this is leftover pizza from a few nights ago. It's very sad.
Did you bring enough for everybody?
Sorry. That's why I don't have my video on. I feel bad for you. My leftover 3-day cold pizza.
Gordon, could I have some lobster tail, please? Is anybody with you, Bill, besides Joni?
The chief and Tim.
Oh, hi, Chief and Tim.
Hi, Chief and Tim.
Big storm moving in.
Is
Oh,
it really?
No, I mean, I bet tonight's meeting.
Yeah, Bill, I just went outside. I found out I had a big limb that came down
Ooh,
in our yard.
well,
And it's
it
like,
didn't hit the house, did it?
no,
Yeah.
it's on the side.
I just sent my kids out for a bike ride. They were being loud. I told them to go outside and go away.
No, there's a big storm coming.
Yeah, it doesn't look pretty.
It's
Oh, snap.
We'll see if they're smart enough to come in out of the rain.
Yeah, it's survival of fish, Maggie. It's a good test for them.
I've always said I believed in it for other people, so maybe,
So we got everybody here, Bill? Is it, we're 6:30?
At 6:30, is Joe, Joe, are you there?
Yeah, he's right here. He's just on mute. Joe, you got to unmute.
I'm on.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, I think we're good. Go ahead and
Oh, that.
is he gonna put the screen back up, start the meeting, or are we good? Are we live?
I think we're live.
I think we're live.
You are live.
Oh, we are live.
Great.
Okay, well then I'm gonna start the meeting at 6:33. Call the roll. Mr. Bartlett,
Here.
Mrs. Graves,
Here.
Dr. Lewis,
Here,
Ms. Palazzolo.
Here.
Mr. Rankin,
Here,
Mr. Stelzer.
Here.
All right. Everybody, you've seen the minutes. Any questions on the minutes from the last meeting?
I know. No,
No questions?
no questions.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second, please, to accept the minutes?
So moved.
A second.
Second, and roll call, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
aye,
Ms. Palazzolo. Ms. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Okay, we only have the one item in communications tonight. It is from, apparently it's from Eli, I guess what I'm looking at here is from Eli. If you guys got any questions or anything regarding that, obviously you can talk to her. Did we receive any emails from permission to address council? Nobody has any emails that they
I haven't seen any.
haven't seen any? All right. I know that there was a lot of folks, you're out there watching tonight. As I've said before, during the section for permission to address council, the way that we're doing it is if you will send in an email the day before, the day of, I'm more than happy to read it tonight, as you can see here, and try and answer your question. I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing this, but for the foreseeable future, we probably will, and that's how we're going to have to address that portion of the meeting. All right, motion to pay the bills, or have we all looked at the bills? Are you all happy with the bills?
Well, happy is probably a little bit of an overstatement.
Overstatement, all right,
I just have a question. So it looks
Yes,
like
more bills, please.
okay.
it looks like we bought like $1,500 worth of soft drinks. Did we buy just the whole year worth of pool soft drinks at the same time? I'm only asking because I'm comparing it to like the snacks, which is less than $100. So I'm thinking we must have just bought it all at one time. Just curious.
Well, we might have, although on the other hand, I don't know this year for sure how they're doing the purchasing at the snack bar. I know they were going to be very conservative with it at first to see
Yeah.
what the demand would be. And I guess given the excessive heat, I would think they could be selling soft drinks like crazy down there. So
Yeah, I'm just curious because that seems like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever bought that much in my life, but
Well, and I wonder if, and this question for Jordan, did they decide to just originally start having soft drinks available before they went ahead and started having snacks, kind of easing their way back into concessions?
just curious.
It's a thought. I don't know.
Okay, let me go through a couple things that I know off the top of my head. Number one is they have a very limited menu at the concession stand right now. They're not doing hot foods. They're not doing pizzas, any of that rest of the stuff. They're just doing soft drinks, ice cream, and chips. And again, they only have 3-hour sessions, so they really don't need anything more than that at this point. And while we're talking here, I'm trying to go back to see what the purchasing pattern was last year to see if they had a large Coke bill at the beginning of the season. I'm trying to get through my files here, but I probably won't be able to answer this in the next minute or two. But
We know.
it is a very limited menu. They cut it down substantially to eliminate a lot of the complexity. And I would imagine we won't have that much left over. But I don't know the answer if that's a large amount or small amount as compared to the prior year. I can't find my schedule real fast here. So
It looks like just from the way it shakes out, they might have bought all the Coke and all the candy ahead of time, and then they're doing snacks a little at a time because the candy is like $800 too. So it looks like stuff that keeps. Maybe they just bought it all.
hold on, I just found the spending from last year. I don't see Coke jumping out at me here. Okay, last year in June 10th, they had a $1,400 bill. So this is consistent with what they bought last year. So, and then they had last year they did 1,400 in June and about 450 at the end of July.
Just a
So,
little extra. Okay, that makes sense.
I can't imagine they're not going to sell all that. And the weather's so hot, they're bound to sell it.
and are they selling it at a profit?
That's to be seen.
That's to be
I
seen. I
mean-
don't know what the margins are.
Yeah, the problem we've got more than anything else is you've got people working the concession stand, but you don't have a lot of volume. So, this is going to be an odd year about trying to create profit centers with the concession stand because you just don't have as many people down there.
Wow.
So, but the bottom line is that I looked at the expenses through last week, and we're pretty consistent on all the other expenses, whether it's water or chlorine and things like that. So the concession stand is still left to be seen if you put the payroll factor into the number.
I can tell you they
Oh my God.
sold $9,000 in 18 and $8,000 worth of stuff in 2019. So as far as what they brought in,
Right.
so it's a little bit of a profit, yeah.
Well, hopefully if we get to I hate to keep using this term, the new normal, we can turn, one of our pool commission members who knows how to sell chili conies pretty well and can, hopefully teach us how to run a profitable operation there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Hey, Avi, how's it look out there? Pretty bad?
It looks pretty bad. I hope your kids came back, Maggie. It is windy and gusty.
Pat's with up. I'm assuming that he's going to be, I don't know. Well,
All right, guys, I need a motion and a second to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second,
All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Hi.
Dr. Lewis,
aye.
Ms. Palazzolo, Meg,
hi.
Right.
Sorry, I must have gone out.
it's all right. Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we'll pay the bills. All right, moving on to the committee agenda portion of our agenda. I want to talk about that just a teeny bit before we get to Marcy's committee report. Yeah, liability inch. Well, that's a report, right? Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Yeah. Maggie, as you and I talked on the phone, I'm assigning the review of the code for overnight parking to your committee. You and I sort of talked about what it was. I know the way that it's written here, changing the ordinance regarding overnight parking, you're not really per se going to be changing an ordinance. I just want you to undertake a review to possibly make it more understandable regarding the parking pass aspect of it, getting an overnight parking pass.
Okay.
And then I know also you and I had talked, I think you would like this assigned to your committee. That would be to sort of a review or discovery about the DORA legislation.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll put that into your committee tonight.
Okay.
So does that mean what was in the committee of the whole? I see that it's not there anymore because there was an overall discussion and in terms of, or did we move it to Public Works?
It's in Public Works, so
Yeah.
that is so
Total separate topic.
but the ordinance is a separate thing, but I think, I guess one thing I want to clarify, because Bill, you had referenced the passes, is I'd be curious to take a look at, in some streets need to have the passes for overnight parking, but then of course there's obviously qualifying factors for that.
Right.
But should we look at the streets that have overnight parking and why it's okay to have overnight parking somewhere, but you have to have a pass for it somewhere else? Or that, I guess I wonder how far we take the ordinance section of it versus a parking assessment. Maybe Meg, you and I could sit down and have that conversation.
Yeah, I have actually, just off the top of my head, I don't have any intention of changing the streets that would or wouldn't require it. It would just be for the streets that do require it. What we're going to do is make it more understandable.
Okay.
And then any assessment of, these streets have it but shouldn't, and these streets don't but should, that can be Public Works. I have no interest in that.
Yeah, essentially, because all I'm asking Maggie to do is basically to try and find a way to make it somewhat more understandable and possibly produce a document, or I don't mean a document, but an information sheet, I think, that when someone, I know it's partly already on the application, when somebody comes in, they make an application for to get a parking pass. But even prior to that, it would be like for new residents or,
Right.
or maybe we would publish it, in the mayor's bulletin or something, just so that we have information out there as to why do we do parking passes, who needs a parking pass, and how does it work?
Okay.
Kind of just that simple. But I mean, the reason that other things are in Kelly's committee, that is basically a study of parking issues on those streets, not necessarily a code issue.
Okay.
I mean, is that good, Avi? Do you understand what I mean?
Sure. I just, I think part of that assessment from the initial, work that was done and the initial meetings we had, was also part of whether or not we continued to require, no parking on overnight streets too, which, I mean, it's part of that overall assessment, I think, that has to be done. And I don't know where we're at with that. It just might not make sense to go through all that work for Maggie if by chance that could change, but
What Maggie would be doing, or what we're asking her to do, is not make an assessment regarding, what you're talking about. This is sort of simply a way to sort of simplify an explanation regarding parking passes.
Sure. No, I get that.
No matter who gets them.
I say we throw out chapter 79 and start all over again.
Yeah. But I guess I get Avia's point. Like, if for any reason we were to decide, we're not going to do passes for overnight parking in Mariemont anymore, we don't need to do this work. So are we pretty certain we're keeping overnight parking passes?
Well, I was about to move on to Finance Committee, to Rob. I mean, we're putting in his committee tonight. Also, he is going to look at the parking fee aspect of it, that ordinance of it, and raising, I guess just, well, yeah.
Not raising, just cost of them.
It's essentially creating a fee.
Right.
Right. Should we have a parking fee? Rob is going to be looking at that and what that number should be.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we determine that, yes, we are having a parking fee, an overnight parking fee, then yes, we need to have an explanation of, how it works, who's going to get it, and so on and so forth.
Holy cow. Are you
Yeah.
getting hail?
Now we're getting some big rain over here.
I saw some hail.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hail.
Oh my God.
Dorothy?
All right. All right. Are we all clear on that, I think?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We're going to do, which one are we going to do first? Okay. Okay, Tony, you good on the Finance Committee report?
Yep, ready? Here we go. From the Finance Committee regarding risk management insurance dated July 27, 2020. The Finance Committee met on Monday, July 20th, 2020 at 5:45 p.m. to discuss renewing the village's risk management insurance. Present at the meeting were Finance Committee Chair Rob Bartlett, Finance Committee members Joe Stelzer and Kelly Rankin, Mayor Bill Brown, Councilmember Marcy Lewis, and Fiscal Officer Tony Borgerding. The Finance Committee reviewed the initial proposal for risk management coverage from Highland. If we did not change any of the coverage levels in the plan, the village's cost would go from $32,980 in 2019 to $37,424 in 2020. Finance Committee obtained the current coverage levels of Fairfax, Terrace Park, Newtown, and Columbia Township and compared that to Mariemont's coverage. See attached. After some discussion, the Finance Committee agreed to the following changes. Increase the earthquake and volcanic eruption coverage from $1 million to $2 million at no additional cost. Reduce media and data coverage from $37,221 to $10,848, consistent with other communities, saving $32. Reduce extra expense in computer coverage. This is to rent equipment until any damaged equipment can be replaced, from $35,000 to $10,000, consistent with other communities, saving $29. Reduce all liability coverage from $6 million per event and $8 million aggregate to $5 million per event and $7 million aggregate, consistent with other communities, saving $1,122. Increase cyber coverage from $250,000 to $1 million, while also increasing the deductible from $5,000 to $25,000, increasing the cost by $277. While only Newtown currently has this level of coverage, Carrie Novacell, our agent from Highland, strongly recommended this increase given the risk in this area. declined the malicious act coverage, saving $779. This coverage was previously included in the terrorism coverage, but now is being charged separately. It specifically covers a planned attack by an assailant at a village-sponsored event. Carrie said it is not required by law, and neither Terrace Park nor Columbia Township are currently paying for this coverage. After making the above changes, the new quote for our risk insurance is $35,739, still an increase of $2,759 versus what we were paying in 2019, but less than the $4,444 increase we were initially quoted. The Finance Committee recommends going forward with the new updated coverage, end quote, because this needs to be passed as legislation and it needs to be effective by August 26, 2020. If council accepts this report, then the legislation will need to be passed as an emergency measure at the first council meeting in August. Respectively submitted and signed by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, Kelly Rankin, and Joe Seltzer.
Okay, you've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right, any discussion? Rob, you want to make a comment? You want to say anything?
No, that's all good. It's all
Okay,
there.
we all good then?
Thorough.
Okay, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mr. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we will accept that report.
All right, we have another report from the Planning and Zoning Committee dated July 22nd, 2020. Discussion of MPF's proposed Mariemont zoning code changes. The Planning and Zoning Committee met on May 21st, 2020 via Zoom at 4 p.m. for 1 hour to discuss the NPF's proposed Mariemont zoning code changes that were presented to council January 27th, 2020. In attendance were committee members Marcy Lewis, Joe Seltzer, and Maggie Palazzolo, Mayor Bill Brown, Council Member Kelly Rankin, and residents and NPF board members Eileen Beatty, Rex Beavis, Don Keys, Doug Mansler, Joe Stoner, Bob Van Stone, and Mary Beth York. While NPF's proposed document made recommendations concerning 6 subjects, due to time constraints, the discussion was limited to the subjects of demolition and the expansion of duties of the ARB that would ensue once that ordinance passes. See attached. Mariemont currently has no ordinance restricting demolition outside of the historic district. Marcia Lewis led the meeting and stated that there are over 75 municipalities in Ohio that have local preservation ordinances that are certified by the National Park Service. Local examples include Glendale, Montgomery, Loveland, and the city of Cincinnati. Furthermore, Mariemont Ordinance 151.025 states that the ARB, quote, shall be historic preservation commission of the municipality, unquote, and shall work in conjunction with NPF to, quote, conduct a continuing survey of cultural resources in the community, unquote. Council member Maggie Palazzolo was in support of a demolition ordinance. However, she questioned whether an appeal should go to council or to the planning commission. Don Keys clarified by stating that Ohio state law requires such an appeal to go to the planning commission. Ms. Palazzolo also asked for clarification about whether a list of contributing/non-contributing properties would be appropriate. Councilmember Joe Seltzer expressed concern about property rights and economic impact. He suggested soliciting input from developers, real estate agents, and citizens. Based on the exchange as summarized above, the committee recommends clarifying the issue of contributing/non-contributing properties and soliciting input from other sources as listed. Dr. Lewis will follow up with NPF, and the committee will reconvene at a later date to resume the discussion. Respectively submitted and signed by Marcia Lewis, Chair, Maggie Palazzolo, and Joe Seltzer.
Okay, you've heard the report. I'm sort of wondering here, do we really want to, do we want to vote on this? Do we want to, since this is going to come back to us, once these recommendations or clarifications have been made? I suggest that we just sort of proceed that way.
I think we need to wait for the clarifications.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
also,
so what would be actually voting?
Yeah,
Voting to okay for clarification.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a good report, Marcy. I'm just saying, I just think we let it lay pending the clarifications, and we'll, reconvene at the end.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, moving on to miscellaneous. Joe and I have had some discussions with the people over at Waldorf School, and of course, because this is in Joe's committee, they would like to, I'm going to let Joe basically give the details of this, but starting, I'm assuming starting for their fall classes, which I assume will be starting in August. They're sort of proposing an outdoor classroom kind of an environment, with little canopy tent type things set up on the ball field side of the building. Joe, you want to go ahead and give them the details?
Yeah, so Waldorf has this theory that they can run their school outside as much as possible to get them through their first couple months of the year before it starts getting cold. And so they're going to try to create outdoor classrooms as much as possible. So the first place they would do that is they would utilize 10 by 10 pop-up tents, approximately 10 to 12 of them that they would put in Dale Park next to the baseball field. And then they would also put a tarp on the ground underneath the tents to, for the kids to, not be, standing in dirt and all the rest of the stuff. They mentioned that the tents would be set up and taken down daily, so they don't stay up the whole time. So the impact on the ground should not be that much. And the concept that they're trying to go for here is not have the teachers and the children inside the building as much as possible. Have the children report straight to the tents, take their temperature, and get them into the, keep them out in the open air as much as possible. They also would like to utilize Ann Benton Ducker Park for an outdoor classroom space, setting up several 10 by 10 pop-up tents over there with ground tarps. Again, they would be taken up and set up and taken down daily. And they also would be looking at putting some sort of portable toilet facility on the in that park area that could possibly be placed in that fenced-in garden area that Waldorf already uses, so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. The final thing they asked about, could they utilize part of the South 80 for outdoor classroom space? Again, putting up 10 by 10 pop-up tents, ground tarps, set up, taken down daily. And they're thinking about potentially a portable toilet down there, but they also asked whether they could use the
Great.
toilet facilities at the swimming pool, which may be a little bit of a logistical, but yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a creek down there too, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's what we'd be signing off for. So again, and Bill had a conversation with the Parks Advisory Board a little bit on this. Again, we don't know if this is going to be their definitive ask, but they're running out of time. And so we want to try to get it in front of all council for their input now. And then we can have the formal vote when they say this is what they definitively want to do, possibly at the next council meeting. But just to try to give everybody a chance to, weigh in now about their thoughts about the proposal. That's where we're kind of bringing it up today.
I've done a little bit of research on this because my kid's school is doing the same thing, and it's a really small school, so they really only have like 5 or 4 pop-up tents. But that's the approach they're taking too. They have outdoor spaces. They have like a little greenhouse farm type area. They have, I think they're proposing 4 or 5 pop-up tents, and then they also have a wooded area. And I mean, there's precedent, ironically, for this from the 1918 pandemic. So it was done then with what was considered documented success in terms of kids being able to be close to each other, but outdoor. And there's some precedent. So I'm all for it as far as creating that environment for the kids. I don't know how I feel about the bathrooms. I mean,
Right.
it's fine to put a bathroom if they're gonna. So my only concern about the bathrooms is that you can't control who's in them at night, and you can't control who's in them in the morning when you get there. These are always issues on construction sites that you have to be really careful with. So I think if we can secure them and the police are willing to go down there, maybe that's a possibility. But as far as the tents, I think it's great. And it is tough to have a bunch of kids with no toilet. So you've got to figure something out.
I did talk with Louise Schomburg about this and her feeling about any impact onto the grounds and the surrounding facilities. She thinks it'll be minimal. And like Joe said, they're probably going to put down tarps. Even if they didn't, that time of year, come late fall, if we have to, we can throw some grass seed down there. It's done to reclimate that. So personally, I don't see any kind of a problem with it.
Mhm.
I think, like Ann Button Park and Dale Park, I could see that, makes sense. All that sounds fine. I just think the South 80 might be too much of a stretch for me. I'm also not exactly sure where they'd put it. And then if you're having people drop, I don't know, if you're dropping kids off down there, like that's just not a very good, thorough way. And so the other spots sound reasonable to me, but I don't know about the South 80.
We asked a question about whether they would be driving the children down to the South 80, and the answer was no, they're gonna hike them down, which I was kind of shocked on the response. But that's their plan, is they'll hike them from the Waldorf school to the South 80. So,
Joe, when
Yeah.
do they start school?
I have no idea, top of my
Because
head.
the reason I'm asking is because, maybe rather than the South 80, depending on the timing, they could use the pool parking lot and the park, that park space there. Would that be?
As Bill's
easier
like,
for-
yeah,
Yeah, there's already a pavilion there too. I think that's a great idea, Marcy. There's a
Yeah.
pavilion back there.
yeah. The logistics of the South 80 seem a little tough.
Yeah, and I just don't exactly know where you'd really put that. I mean, maybe it's where that first row of gardens are, but I mean, it's buggy down there.
And it can get muddy after the rain. That's why I was thinking the parking lot, if that would work out timing wise.
Yeah,
At this point, we might be speculating on this just a teeny bit, because between Joe and I, the conversations that we've had, it sort of seemed like they were leaning toward the ball fields, on the east side of the building.
Okay, I just looked it up. Their first day of school is Tuesday, August 25th. So, while the pool's still open, probably the parking lot at the swimming pool may be out. But we've also have people that are using the South 80 parking up there too. And we're going to actually start enforcing that rule, because we've got a fair number of people who are trying to drive down to the South 80 with their dogs to walk. And that's really not safe either, as far as for everybody who's walking the hill already. And
Right.
we're going to start enforcing that rule a little bit more vigorously in the future here.
Yeah.
So now, could we put the cars out on the street and try to use the parking lot? There's a lot of different options, but we'll float that back to them and see what they think.
Well, and the other thing we could do is, like in any given day after the pool's closed, I mean, there's maybe 6 or 7 spots that are utilized for the South 80. So maybe we can mark an area off
Right.
and
Yeah.
just have them use a certain percentage of the parking lot and or that green space.
I mean, how many tents do they really need? I mean, I
Well,
would
that's
think
what
that,
yeah.
I mean, I would think Dale Park and/or Ann Button should suffice their needs.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Do we know the student, I mean, we don't know student count, students per tent, really much any of that yet, right?
Sorry.
I think we're kind of waiting to hear the ongoing proposal, as Joe said.
Well, conceptually, I think it's a great idea. The South 80 causes me pause, but the concept was right there. What is that sound?
It's a cat.
That's
so
That's
yeah,
what I
so
thought.
I also agree with you guys in terms of Dale Park and Button Becker. And I agree with Marcy also that I wouldn't go down to the South 80. I would use the pavilion that's back there in that grassy area by the pool. But that's just to walk them all the way over there. I don't know. It's just, so if you're going to give them feedback, I would say, yeah, it seems like we're supportive of the stuff that's right nearby there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
especially if the pool's still open. It's like, well, why are you going to hike
Yeah.
over there?
Yeah, and I think we'd be taking away from our residents, like if we used any of that space there, but the other definitely seems to make more sense.
Yeah. So,
Okay, we good?
yes.
All right, moving on. We're about to wrap up. We're trying to wrap up, obviously, the street vacation, Mariemont Avenue street vacation. Now, you all were in the packet, of course, the land purchase agreement. You've seen that. You've reviewed that. The only thing that I was not able to get into the packet, but we did send it out to you this morning, was the resolution that we're going to have to pass on emergency to basically move this forward. And Joe obviously has got more details on this than I do. Joe, you want to go ahead and fill them in?
Okay, so a couple things I shared today, I did share the survey and the legal description that was done.
Yeah.
And basically that survey is of the plot of land that's going to be vacated. We're still waiting on a second survey and legal description that splits that plot in two. That's probably the only deliverable that's left to be able to close this transaction if it's approved by council. So the good news is we're ready to go if we get council's approval today. The land purchase agreement has been agreed to by the lawyers from the buyer and the seller. So it's pretty much ready to go, other than we did figure out that the lot is actually owned by a trust, not by Chip directly. So we'll have to change that party to the contract. And the other thing I passed around today is we did get the written consent from Chip to the street vacation. And the important part of this is we then don't have to go with a public, and I'm probably stepping on Ed's toes here a little bit, but my understanding is once we have this written consent, we don't have to go to the public for any additional notices, because in essence, the owners on both sides of the vacated street agree to the vacation. So that's what the importance of the written consent is. Does anybody have any questions about the agreement or the consent or anything at this point?
I had a couple of thoughts that just kind of popped into my head the other day. The primary concern that I have heard from residents about us selling this space is because of the loss of the green space, right? That seems to be the primary reason that I hear. And I just wanted to throw out the idea, if that truly is the case, which I do take it to believe so, perhaps we earmark the funds that we would receive from the sale of the street to utilize towards our green space. So whether it's, maybe we don't specifically say what that is, but it could potentially be, any of our green spaces. It could be the Murray Trail. It could be, potentially be areas around the pool, or the area between Hiawatha and Rimbold. I know we've talked about maybe a gazebo or something there. So it just seemed like maybe a good way to kind of solve that would be to say that we would utilize those funds for something of that nature. It was just a thought popped into my head the other day, and I thought I wanted to throw it out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting thought.
So that kind of goes along with what we've talked about too, with regard to improvements to some of the green spaces.
Yeah.
And we don't have to, we can choose how much, if not all of it, how much we could dedicate towards that. It's worth the conversation.
Avi, would that be any kind of improvement? Like, for example, like the concrete or the asphalt in the concourse in one area is really, really rutted. Could it be used for that? Or would it be some kind of more aesthetic thing?
I think
practical
that
thing
would be for us to kind of decide, but I think, that could be a very reasonable thing, because that's, part of that green space area, and kind of making some improvements or making something nicer, or putting, like I said, putting in a feature. I don't know, but I just felt like it seemed like maybe that would be a good way to kind of appease that side and use that money for something good back into the village.
Hey, Joe, one other question is, I think you had mentioned to me at some point, maybe this was a private conversation, there's really minimal impact on the green space. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, there's going to be really nothing being built on the vacated street area. All this does is allow you to put the house closer to the street. So, there's maybe any trees are going to be removed during the process of home building. We're going to be removed whether we did this street vacation or not. But my thought on earmarking funds, if you want to call it as such, we do control the spending being council, so we can decide how to allocate dollars in the future. But, and this is the thing I want to just be careful with. I don't want to create a special fund because we have too many funds already, and we're trying to figure out how to, juggle the money around to, make the spending fit the funds. But there's no doubt we spend a fair amount on trees already. And, this $50,000 could help that amount. That tree spending is not as big drain on our budget as it is right now.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
yeah, and I don't think I wouldn't create a separate fund, but I think it's definitely a good discussion point. We don't have to obviously decide tonight, but I mean, that's a decent amount of money that could be, utilized for something positive in the village. So.
Yeah, don't forget too, NPF contributes, we have a large fund over there for trees, something in the neighborhood of about $10,000. So we do have money for trees.
yeah, I just want to be careful that we don't restrict the funds in some way that if we have a hole we have to fill, we can't do it because, and I guess we could always reverse our decision if we had to, fill some spending need. And that's not my only concern about earmarking funds off of this. I think it's great that we've got a little bit of a windfall here. And the question is, what do we do with it? I don't know yet.
If funds are restricted by donors, then it has to go in a specific fund. But if it's just restricted by council, I think we can just put it in a general fund and just kind of say, hey, this is for this purpose, so no separate fund really needed.
Yeah, put like a footnote on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd just be worthwhile to have a conscious discussion about what we do with it, right? It just doesn't get sucked up into the general fund and gone.
Okay, we all satisfied with that?
Mhm.
Okay, before we leave the topic, I want to say one thing. I want to single out Joe here for a minute. He's probably not going to like this, but Joe has done a tremendous amount of work on this street vacation, basically above and beyond what any of us, would have anticipated, expected. I think we owe him a little extra thank you on this for his work, to sort of shepherd this project through to where we are today. So thank you, Joe, at least from me.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe.
You're welcome.
Okay. I had a brief conversation today with Chris, and he was going to give us a little update about some of the contracts that are coming up for Petoskey. I guess he didn't stay with us for the meeting. So.
Bill, can we step back? Can we have a formal vote that we're going to adopt the resolution? I think we have to go through that process, don't we, Ed?
Well, I was going to get to the resolution when we get to the resolutions.
That's fine.
We're just not quite there yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, like I said, I'll try to have something for you from Chris regarding the Petoskey. Or Kelly, do you know anything more about the Petoskey contracts and contract?
Well, I know that
Did Chris say anything to
given
you?
Abby the formal go-ahead
Yeah.
to Neiman.
Okay.
So contracts as far as,
I think it was basically a discussion he had with this Abby person about moving
yes,
forward. Yeah. Okay.
I just basically gave her the official go-ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I think maybe that's all we need.
Yeah.
Okay. And Rob would like to say a few words regarding some of the other contributions that have been made.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank, there's three groups. First one is Joni, Allison, and Eli for the website. We haven't taken the time, and it came through the finance committee. I really wanted to take the time to thank all the effort that they put into getting that website up and going. I know it took a lot of effort. There's a lot of troubleshooting and bugs and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's really come up really well. I've had only positive comments from people who've talked about the website. So, and that was all going on during the pandemic. That was really a challenge. So I wanted to thank the three of them for all the hard work they did getting it up and running. I also wanted to thank, Tim Feitner he got the FEMA reimbursement for us. That was great. Over $20,000 for that. So that's a big help from budget standpoint. And then the third group would be Joni, Tony, and Eli for the CARES Act funding. I mean, that's almost $62,000 worth of funding. They helped get that, and they're helping to put in place now a way to track and try and get the maximum value out of that, because we can only keep it if we got actual expenses that were involved with the COVID-19 issues. So I know they're going through that process right now, and Tony talked about it in the budget review about taking all those costs and putting them into one place so we can clearly see, okay, these are the expenses that were related to that. But $62,000 is huge as well. So thank you very much for all the effort and you guys are putting in to make that happen.
yes, thank you.
Good work. Good work. All right, moving on to resolutions. Tony, let's do the resolution to adopt a budget, declare emergency.
Okay. Adopting the budget for 2021 and to declare emergency.
Okay. Are you going to read it? Is that it?
That's
Uh,
it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yay, that's it.
Kind of quick. Okay. You've heard the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third reading.
So
moved.
moved.
So,
Second.
okay, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
May we have the second reading?
Yep. Adopting the budget for 2021 and to declare emergency.
All right. Is there any discussion? I think we've already discussed it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. May we have the third reading?
Okay. Adopting the budget for 2021 and to declare emergency.
All right. I need a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right. I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause, please.
So moved.
So moved. Stop, Rob and I. That's like I want to arm wrestle you.
Who had the second? Kelly had the
I
second.
had the second.
Okay, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, that resolution will be adopted. All right, let's move on now to the one regarding the street vacation. Tony, do you have that?
I do not have that.
Okay. hold
Just
on.
got the insurance one.
Oh,
Uh,
it's not even on the agenda.
Tony.
Right,
sent
that's not on the
out today.
agenda.
I know, but it was sent out by email this morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
um,
Hold on a
I didn't
minute.
read it, Bill.
Can you read it, Bill?
Joni's going to read it.
Thank you, Joni.
Well, I'll read it. Okay, this is to authorize the sale of village portion of vacated streets and to declare an emergency. All right, you've heard the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third readings. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Rob,
Mr. Bartlett,
come on.
You distracted me. Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo. Come on, guys, wake up. Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading to authorize the sale of village portion of vacated streets and to declare an emergency. Is there any discussion? I think we've already basically discussed this.
No.
Okay, may we have the third reading to authorize the sale of the village's portion of vacated streets and to declare an emergency. All right, I need a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Okay, Kelly, you have the second?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause, please.
Rob,
So moved.
Okay, Rob had the motion. Who's got the second? Do I hear a second?
Kelly.
second.
All right, guys, we only got a little bit more to go here. We get through this.
You're getting a little slap happy,
I
Bill.
get a little slap happy. Well, it's only been 45 minutes. We're doing all right here. Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Marcy, come on, wake up, be a little enthusiastic. Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Aye, aye, Captain.
All right,
Aye, aye.
that resolution will pass. Have that back. Okay. All right, Tony, we'll do the ordinance.
All right, to renew current contract for the following kinds of insurance: real and personal property, comprehensive general liability, business automobile, and other coverages, to pay premiums and to declare emergency.
All right, thank you. You've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third readings.
So moved.
Second,
Second. What, are you the only two that can get the motions here? All right, Mr. Bartlett,
aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
I think you got one of Marcy's eyes.
okay, you in? Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading, please?
To renew current contract for the following kinds of insurance: real and personal property, comprehensive general liability, business automobile, and other coverages, to pay premiums and to declare emergency.
Right. Any discussion? Anybody want to have discussion? No?
Good.
May we have the third reading, please?
Yes, to renew current contract for the following kinds of insurance: real and personal property, comprehensive general liability, business automobile, and other coverages, to pay premiums and to declare emergency.
I need a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause, please. And we're almost done.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
What's my motivation here, Bill?
There's the dollar.
Aye.
Let's be cheerful. Come on.
Mm.
Did I have an eye?
I said aye.
Come on, Tony. It's only a few more minutes. Wake up.
All right.
Okay, I don't even know where I am in a roll call. Marcy, did you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Now your turn.
Okay, Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we'll pass that ordinance.
Second.
That was it, right? Okay. All right, are we all happy? This meeting is adjourned.
Yay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Hey,
guys.
Bill,
Oh,
I
that's
sent-
good.
Bill, I sent you a
Good night.
text in between meetings. Will you answer that, please?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. You can just text me.
I'll text you.